Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into something a listener sent over that really caught my attention.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about waves.
Okay.
And not just like ocean waves, but like the idea that waves could be shaping life itself, like a cosmic sculptor. So the listener sent over this conversation they had with ChatGPT
Yeah.
based on an image, and it was a picture of waves converging to form a human body.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have to say the whole thing is pretty mind-boggling.
I bet. It really makes you think about everything you thought you knew
Yeah.
about the world and, just everything.
Exactly. So before we get into the details of how this all might actually work,
Okay.
let's just start with that image.
Okay.
You described it as having a background of like uniform waves
Right.
that then like bend and come together to create the shape of a human body.
Yeah.
But the body itself is still made of waves.
Right. Yeah. And it really struck me was how it kind of forces you to think about how the seemingly solid structures of our world, even something as complex as a human body, might actually just be expressions of underlying wave patterns.
Yeah.
We tend to think of ourselves as these separate solid beings. But this image, it just suggests a totally different reality.
Right.
One where we're fundamentally intertwined with like the energy and the flow of the universe.
It really challenges our whole perception of what it means to be solid or separate.
And that's where the conversation with ChatGPT got so interesting.
Okay.
It starts to explore this idea of the universe as a multi-layered tapestry,
Okay.
with the surface layer being the matter we perceive.
Okay.
You, me, our devices.
Yeah.
But beneath that, woven into the very fabric, are countless interacting waves and fields.
So what we see is just the tip of the iceberg, and beneath it there's this hidden world of waves just influencing everything.
Exactly, yeah. ChatGPT used the analogy of a symphony.
Oh, wow.
With different types of waves, like electromagnetic waves, sound waves, gravitational waves, all playing their part to create the music of existence.
Okay, let's break down these different types of waves. We all know about light and radio waves.
Right.
But how could they actually be shaping life?
Well, think about how electromagnetic waves interact with matter at the atomic level.
Okay.
They can excite electrons, give them like a boost of energy,
Yeah.
and then that energy can be used to manipulate matter in all sorts of fascinating ways.
Okay.
Take laser 3D printing, for example. It uses focused light to build objects layer by layer.
Right.
So if we can manipulate matter with light on that scale, it really makes you wonder what else might be possible.
It's like we're only scratching the surface of what we can do with these forces. What about sound waves?
Right.
I mean, we all know they create these beautiful patterns, but could they actually be shaping life itself?
I mean, think about cymatics.
Mm-hmm.
Those mesmerizing visuals you see where sound waves are creating those intricate patterns in liquids or powders.
Yeah.
It might seem like a parlor trick, but it really highlights the power of vibration and resonance to create order out of chaos.
Right.
And if sound can do that with non-living matter, it's definitely intriguing to think about its potential influence on biological structures.
So we've got light and sound, both capable of influencing matter in pretty extraordinary ways.
Yeah.
But what about gravity?
Right.
It feels so different from those other forces. How does it fit into this whole picture of waves shaping life?
Well, that's where Einstein's theory of general relativity comes in.
Okay.
It describes gravity not as a force, but as a curvature in space-time. It's not something we can easily visualize. But imagine a bowling ball on a trampoline.
Okay.
Creates a dip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Affects everything else on the trampoline.
Huh.
Gravity works in a similar way, warping the fabric of space-time,
Okay.
influencing the movement of matter.
So in theory, if we could manipulate gravity, we could manipulate matter on a massive scale.
Hypothetically, yes.
Right.
But that's still firmly in the realm of science fiction. What's more relevant to our conversation is how gravity, just like light and sound, acts as a force that shapes the universe. From the largest galaxy clusters down to the smallest particles.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these seemingly different forces could be part of the same cosmic dance, shaping everything around us, but this still feels very theoretical. Is there any real-world evidence that waves can actually influence the development of living organisms?
That's where the work of Dr. Michael Levin comes in.
Okay.
His research on bioelectricity is revolutionizing our understanding of how life takes shape.
This is where it gets really interesting. Tell me more about Dr. Levin and his work.
So Dr. Levin is a biologist who studies bioelectricity,
Okay.
which is essentially the electrical currents that flow through living organisms.
Okay.
And he's done some groundbreaking experiments showing how manipulating these electrical fields can actually influence the development of organisms.
Wow.
For example, in one experiment, he was able to grow eyes on the legs of frog embryos by altering the electrical signals in their cells.
He's basically manipulating life with electricity.
It's a powerful demonstration of how electrical signals, which are ultimately governed by electromagnetic forces, can directly influence the development of organisms.
Okay, I see the connection now. It's all about waves.
Yeah.
Even at the level of individual cells. But hold on, if bioelectricity is manipulating cells, what's actually doing the manipulating?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it takes us right to the heart of what's so fascinating about Dr. Levin's work.
Okay.
He argues that bioelectricity isn't just some random byproduct of cellular activity.
Right.
It's a key part of how cells communicate and coordinate their behavior.
Hmm.
It's like a language that cells use to talk to each other,
Oh, wow.
tell each other where to go, what to do, and how to develop.
So by manipulating these bioelectrical signals, Dr. Levin is essentially hacking into that cellular communication network.
Exactly. And his research suggests that bioelectricity might be even more fundamental to life than we previously thought. It might be one of the key mechanisms driving the self-organization and development of complex organisms.
It's like we're starting to see the software of life, the code that tells cells how to build bodies.
Yeah, it's a really cool way to think about it.
And what's really mind-blowing is that Dr. Levin believes that this bioelectric code might be universal,
Right.
applying to all living organisms, not just frogs. Now, that's a big claim. Is there any evidence to support that?
He and his team have done experiments on a wide range of organisms, from planaria to salamanders. And the results have been remarkably consistent.
Okay.
They've shown that by manipulating these bioelectric signals, they can not only influence development, but also regenerate lost limbs,
Wow.
repair damaged organs, and even control the growth of cancer cells.
Whoa, that's huge.
Yeah.
It opens up so many possibilities for medicine and regenerative therapies.
Absolutely. And it all comes back to this idea that waves, in this case, bioelectric signals, might be a fundamental force shaping life itself.
This is seriously groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see the universe and myself in a whole new light, or wave, I should say.
Yeah.
And we've only just begun to explore the depths of this topic. But before we dive any deeper, there was one other point in your conversation with ChatGPT that really piqued my curiosity.
Okay.
You mentioned DNA as a potential example of a biological wave pattern system. And I've got to admit, I'm struggling to wrap my head around that one.
It's definitely a mind-bending concept.
Yeah.
But bear with me. Think about the iconic double helix structure of DNA.
Okay.
Essentially, two strands of genetic material winding around each other, almost like two waves interacting.
Okay, I see the visual similarities.
Yeah.
So how does that translate to DNA actually functioning as a wave?
Well, remember how we talked about waves carrying information?
Yeah.
Think about light waves carrying images, sound waves carrying music. DNA, in a sense, does the same thing. It stores and transmits genetic information through the sequence of its base pairs.
Okay.
And that sequence could be seen as a kind of wave pattern.
So it's not just the shape of DNA that's wave-like, but the information it encodes.
Exactly. And there's growing evidence that the way DNA interacts with its environment,
Okay.
the way it replicates and expresses genes, is heavily influenced by electromagnetic forces.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about waves within waves here, creating a complex symphony of information flow.
It's like DNA is a musical score, and the waves are the instruments bringing it to life.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And it raises some fascinating questions about the role of electromagnetic fields in shaping not just individual organisms, but the evolution of life itself.
Okay, my brain is officially on overload. We've gone from the universe as a tapestry of waves to DNA as a symphony of information flow. Before we move on, let me just make sure I'm following you. Are we saying that everything from the largest structures in the universe down to the very building blocks of life is fundamentally shaped by waves?
That's the question we're exploring, and the evidence is increasingly pointing in that direction.
Wow. Just wow. I think I need a moment to process all of this.
Take all the time you need. It's a lot to take in.
I have a feeling this is just the beginning of our exploration. Where do we go from here? Okay, I think I've caught my breath.
Good.
So we've been talking about waves shaping life at like a very fundamental level.
Right.
But let's zoom out for a minute. How does this idea of waves play out on a larger scale, like in terms of the universe as a whole?
Well, that's where things get really cosmic. Remember that image we were talking about of waves converging to form a human body?
Yeah.
ChatGPT pointed out that it could also be seen as a metaphor for how energy and matter interact on a universal scale to create everything we see around us.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more. How does that work?
Okay, so imagine the steady uniform waves in the background of that image.
Oh, okay.
They represent the fundamental energy of the universe, a kind of cosmic hum that permeates everything.
Wow.
It's like the canvas upon which the grand drama of existence unfolds.
So a universal heartbeat.
Yeah,
A constant vibration that's always there.
exactly. Now imagine something happens to disrupt those waves,
Okay.
to bend and shape them. It could be the formation of a star, the collision of galaxies, or even the emergence of life itself.
Wow.
These events act like cosmic sculptors,
Okay.
molding the fabric of reality.
So these cosmic events are like ripples in a pond, spreading out and changing the landscape of the universe.
Precisely. And those ripples eventually coalesce into the patterns and structures we observe.
Right.
Everything from galaxies swirling through space
Yeah.
to planets orbiting stars
Yeah.
to the intricate dance of life on Earth.
Wow. So everything we see is basically a product of how the universe's energy is being shaped and sculpted by these cosmic events.
It's a pretty mind-blowing concept, right?
Yeah.
And it highlights the interconnectedness of everything. We're not just separate entities.
Right.
We're all part of this grand cosmic dance of energy and matter.
It's starting to feel less like the universe is a machine and more like a giant, ever-evolving work of art.
And what's even more fascinating is that we as conscious beings are part of that creative process.
Okay.
We're not just passively observing the universe, we're actively shaping it
Wow.
with our thoughts, actions, and even our very presence.
Okay, now that's where my head starts to spin.
Yeah.
How are we shaping the universe just by existing?
Well, remember what we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
About how everything in the universe, including our thoughts, can be described as vibrating energy.
Yeah, it's all connected to that underlying tapestry of waves.
Exactly. And those waves of thought, just like any other wave, interact with the universe around us,
Right.
subtly influencing the flow of energy and information. It's like throwing a pebble into a still pond.
Okay.
The ripples spread out,
Uh-huh.
creating a chain reaction.
So you're saying our thoughts are like tiny pebbles creating ripples in the cosmic pond?
In a sense, yes. And while the impact of any single thought might be minuscule,
Right.
when you consider the billions of thoughts generated by humans every day,
Yeah.
it starts to add up.
That's both empowering and a little daunting at the same time. It means we have a responsibility for the kind of energy we're putting out into the universe.
Absolutely.
Mm.
It highlights the power of our collective consciousness. If we focus our thoughts on fear, anger, negativity,
Yeah.
we're essentially amplifying those frequencies in the universe. But if we cultivate love, compassion, understanding,
Right.
we can contribute to a more harmonious and positive reality.
So we're not just shaped by waves, we're also shaping waves with our very existence.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that we're all connected and that our actions, even our thoughts, matter.
And it brings us back to that image that started this whole conversation.
Okay.
Remember how the human body in the image was still made of waves,
Yeah.
even though it had recognizable form?
Yeah, it was like the waves were flowing through it, giving it life.
Exactly. And that's a beautiful metaphor for how we, as individuals, are both products of the universe's energy and active participants in its ongoing evolution.
So we're like wave-shaped beings riding the cosmic surf.
I like that analogy.
Okay.
And it suggests that the journey of life is about learning to navigate those waves, to harmonize with the universal flow,
Yeah.
and to contribute our unique energy to the grand symphony of existence.
I have to admit, this is all starting to sound pretty profound. I'm starting to think I need to go meditate on a beach and really contemplate the waves for a while.
That sounds like an excellent idea.
Yeah.
And while you're out there, remember that those waves you're watching are more than just water moving up and down.
Right.
They're a reflection of the fundamental forces that shape everything in the universe, including us.
You've definitely changed how I'll look at the ocean from now on, but before I head to the beach, there's one thing I'm still trying to grasp. We've talked a lot about how waves shape life,
Right.
but how does life, in turn, shape waves?
Excellent question.
Yeah.
And that gets to the heart of what it means to be a conscious participant in the universe.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about thoughts creating ripples in the cosmic pond?
Yeah, like tiny pebbles disturbing the surface of reality.
Well, those ripples don't just disappear.
Right.
They interact with other ripples,
Okay.
creating interference patterns that can amplify or diminish certain frequencies. And those frequencies can influence everything from the behavior of subatomic particles to the formation of stars.
So it's like a feedback loop. Our thoughts and actions send out waves.
Yeah.
Those waves interact with the universe, and that interaction shapes the reality we experience.
Precisely. And that feedback loop is happening constantly
Wow.
on every level of existence.
Huh?
Every breath we take, every step we make, every word we utter, it's all contributing to the cosmic dance of waves.
Wow, that makes me feel incredibly insignificant and incredibly powerful at the same time.
That's the paradox of being human. We're both tiny specks in the vastness of the universe and integral parts of the web of life.
Right.
And it's through understanding this interconnectedness that we can truly grasp the profound implications of waves shaping life.
This deep dive is really less about finding definitive answers and more about opening up to a whole new way of seeing the world.
Exactly. It's about embracing the mystery and the wonder of the universe.
Yeah.
And recognizing our place within it.
I have a feeling this conversation is going to stay with me for a long time.
That's what makes these deep dives so rewarding. They challenge us to expand our perspectives and to see the world with fresh eyes.
So before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to add about this amazing wave-shaped reality we find ourselves in?
Just this.
Yeah.
Remember that we're still at the very beginning of understanding the true nature of the universe and the role that waves play in shaping it. There's so much more to discover and explore.
Okay. My mind is still reeling a little bit from all this talk of cosmic waves and interconnectedness.
I hear you.
But let's bring it back down to Earth for a minute.
Okay.
If this idea of waves shaping life is as fundamental as you're suggesting, what are like the practical implications? Like, how could this understanding actually change the world?
That's where things get really exciting. As our understanding of wave manipulation evolves, it could lead to some groundbreaking applications
Okay.
in all sorts of fields,
Mm-hmm.
from medicine and engineering to even our understanding of consciousness itself.
Give me some examples. What kind of real-world changes are we talking about?
Well, in medicine,
Yeah.
imagine using precisely targeted sound waves or electromagnetic fields to stimulate tissue regeneration,
Okay.
heal wounds faster, or even break up cancerous tumors without invasive surgery.
That would be revolutionary. Healing with sound and light instead of scalpels. Sign me up.
It's not science fiction. Researchers are already exploring these possibilities.
Wow.
And think about the potential in engineering.
Yeah.
We could use wave manipulation to create entirely new materials with properties we can only dream of today.
Like what?
Materials that are stronger,
Okay.
lighter, more flexible, or even self-healing.
Self-healing materials. That sounds like something straight out of a superhero movie.
It's closer to reality than you might think.
Really?
Scientists are already experimenting with materials that can repair themselves,
Wow.
using embedded microcapsules that release healing agents when damaged. Wave manipulation could take this to a whole new level,
Right.
allowing us to create structures that adapt and respond to their environment in ways we've never seen before.
Okay, I'm officially living in the future. But what about something a little more philosophical?
Okay.
How does this understanding of waves change our view of ourselves and our place in the universe?
It challenges us to see beyond the illusion of separation.
Mm.
We're not isolated beings.
Right.
We're interconnected nodes in this vast network of energy and information,
Okay.
constantly exchanging waves with each other and with the universe around us.
So we're like walking, talking antennas, sending and receiving signals all the time.
I love that analogy. And it means that our thoughts, emotions, and actions
Yeah.
have a ripple effect that extends far beyond our immediate surroundings.
It really makes you realize the responsibility we have to be mindful of the kind of energy we're putting out into the world.
Exactly. Because those waves we're generating,
Right.
interacting with the waves of others,
Yeah.
creating a collective reality that we all share.
It's both empowering and humbling at the same time.
Yeah.
Knowing that we're all part of this interconnected web of energy and information.
And it leads to some pretty profound questions.
Like what?
If we can learn to consciously manipulate these waves, what does that mean for the future of humanity? Could we use this knowledge to shape not just matter, but consciousness itself?
That's a question I'm going to be pondering for a long time.
I think we all will.
But I think it's the perfect note to end our deep dive on.
I agree. It's a question that invites us to keep exploring,
Right.
keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of our understanding.
Well, thank you for guiding us through this incredible journey into the world of waves.
Of course.
It's definitely changed how I see the universe and myself.
The pleasure was all mine. And remember, the exploration doesn't end here.
That's right.
Every wave that crashes on the shore, every sunrise, every breath you take,
Yeah.
it's all a reminder that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Right.
A symphony of energy and information that's constantly unfolding.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll leave you to ride your own wave of curiosity.
Happy trails.
Until next time, keep exploring.